Welcome to episode 40 of the Brew Crew Scoop. It's an off day, Monday, September 9th. The magic number to clinch is the division is down to 10 despite the bad homestand. So we'll talk to the past week, the standings, as always. How you feeling on the brink of a clinch of the NL Central once again?
Yeah, not really a great week, but the one day we finally hung out was the one day we finally got the win, so might be a good rationale to hang out a
Hmm.
little bit more.
No, I don't think so. Um, yeah, get right into it. The weekly recap. Cardinals game two of that series, 12 innings. Won 12 innings, but they lost 7-4. Chourio homered. Savali had a good start. Um, Willie got his 100th RBI on a kind of crazy way to extend the game and extras. Do you know the outfielder's name? I just blanked on it.
That had the
Yeah,
drop, well, the catch but no catch.
yeah.
Was that their center fielder? No, I
Yeah,
don't
it was his
remember
center
who it was.
fielder. So he figured it out, but he almost made an insane catch, kind of rolled over his wrist and didn't complete it. Didn't matter. Brewers lost anyways, but that's how Willie got to RBI number 100, set a new career high.
If the Brewers did that, would you have said it was a catch?
I don't know. I admittedly don't really know the rule, I guess. I could
Yeah.
see
It
it
was
toward
weird
the
because like he completed it to the ground, but then when he rolled over, kind of is
Mhm.
when it popped out. So it's like I don't know the continuation technically and how that
Right,
works in baseball versus football in that sense. Like it seemed like he didn't complete it though, because like it popped out
right.
without him reaching into his glove or anything, but at the same time, he'd already had it for a second. So yeah, it was weird.
I think they were saying you got to show the ball. It sounds
Yeah,
like, but I
I
don't know if
don't
that's like truly the rule or not. Yeah, I admittedly don't know. I honestly feel like either way, I would have been like, oh, okay, makes sense because
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, game three, another extra innings loss. Wrapped up that made it a series L as well against the Cards. 3-2 loss in 10. Deal Hall was outstanding, with 6 Ks in relief, 4 innings pitched, no hits. Eric Haas homered to send it to extras, but as I mentioned, did not work out anyways. Game one against the Rockies. Frankie Montas was having a great game until the sixth inning, when Tolia had a 3-run homer and the Brewers lost 3-2 again. Um, Made it interesting in the ninth. Brewer Hicklin stole second base, and when he went to tag up on Brenton Doyle, was hosed out at third. Super close. You wonder if he was safe on the field, if he would have been, it would have been upheld, but it was not the case. I liked him going there. I know people were saying he was already in runner in scoring position. Um, I don't know. I feel like that catch going to his left and then making that throw on the money, like I wasn't expecting that. So it's tough. Hindsight's 2020. Game two against the Rockies. Brewers were up against their first 4-game losing streak of the season, and they avoided it yet again. Willie, Gary, and William all homered. Tobias Myers had 11 strikeouts in the 5-2 win. Another awesome start for the kid. He's been by far, I would say, the biggest positive surprise for this team. It's really not even close in my head. Um, Rockies game three, Jackson Trio bobblehead day. Oh, what's this? 4-1 loss, unfortunately. Freddie looked like 2024 Freddie. 4 2/3, 86 pitches, 7 hits, 3 earned, 4 Ks, 2 walks. Pretty much how he's been all year, other than he still strikes out a lot of guys typically, but 7 hits, less than 5 innings, around 5 innings, high pitch counts. Unfortunately, that's just what it's been. And it's a 3.81 ERA right now. So, he's not bad. It's just he's not efficient and he's not himself. Brenton Doyle had another crazy catch in that game. Um, I was excited to see him get out of Milwaukee. Brewers 1-4 since we last talked. 2 series losses at home, but despite that, the Cubs have come back down to earth a little bit. Chourio sits at 19 homers. He's on the brink of that 2020 season that we talked about. And then Hall and Aaron Ashby are starting to look like legitimate playoff, like long relief options in leverage spots. So really good to see both those guys putting it together. Obviously, Hall had some injury misfortune this year, as did Ashby last year. But Ashby, I was kind of out on almost. not entirely, but I was getting close to it, and all of a sudden he looks like he could be a multi-inning guy out of the pen.
That outfielder was Michael Ciani, I believe, on the
Marciani. I
Cardinals.
kept wanting to say Sirianni, and I knew that wasn't it. I was just
Whoa,
watching
that's
football this weekend.
Coach
I
Sirianni.
know. Sirianni.
Yeah, tough week. I think it's the second year in a row at least that we've lost the season series to the Rockies, which you don't love because they're not exactly a premier franchise in this league, but um yeah, not really too worried about it to be honest. You don't want to lose games, but we're in a position where we kind of can. That
Mm-hmm.
being said, it still is a big couple of weeks trying to position for the playoff seeding. So don't want to give them up if we can win them at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not worried about who we lose to really at this point. I mean, unless it turns into a losing stretch. But I'm not too concerned about who we're playing. That's just baseball, and this team has proven all year long that they haven't lost 4 games in a row. Like they're clearly been able to mitigate cold baseball, and it's been great. So you just talked about the the bye. We can talk about the standings now. The division lead sits at 9. There's still 82 and 61 with 19 to play, despite the bad week. With a great shot at 90 wins still. They need to go below 500 only to get to 90 wins. Fortunately, the first round bye is starting to slip away. 3 back of the Phillies, 4 back of the Dodgers. Padres and Diamondbacks are in the 2 wild card spots. The Mets and Braves are tied for that third and final wild card spot right now. The Mets are red hot, I should say. 9 of their last 10 chase down the Braves, and then that team in that final wild card spot would be coming to Milwaukee, assuming that we don't leapfrog either of those other teams. There's still time, but it's diminishing a bit. Cubs and Cardinals are 5 and 6 games out of the wild card race, respectively. The AL is looking like it's going to be the Yankees, Orioles, Guardians, Royals, Stros, and Twins. Detroit, Seattle, and Boston are still holding on to some hope, but slipping away, all at least 3.5 games out.
Yeah, like you said, I think 3 back of the Phils, and we have the Phils for 3, I believe, next week. So it might also be clinchers. Get to the park.
Yeah, we need to do some research about the tiebreaker for that because they swept us last time. But if we were to sweep them, then that's what we would probably need to do to get back in the race. And let's say we're tied and we're 3-3 against them this year. Um, I want to say it may go to your division record, and we've kind of owned our division. I looked today, we're 8-5 against the Cubs, 8-5 against the Cardinals. I don't know about Reds and Pirates off the top of my head, but I would be willing to bet that
I'm
we
pretty
do
sure
well
we
against
still
them.
dominate the Reds. Isn't that our thing?
Correct. I was looking at Cubs and Cardinals today when I was checking the magic number because I wanted to confirm that we won both season series, and I was pretty sure. But I'd be willing to bet that we were over 500 against all 4 teams and quite a bit better than 500. So would be interesting next week if they come into town and
Yeah,
we
I think it's head to head and then against the division.
okay. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know how the Phillies have fared during the East. We'll have to do some research this week before we get to that matchup, but that would help because right now it feels more like a 4 game deficit with 19 to play, and that's tough to do. Um, hopefully on the flip side of that, if for some reason it is out of reach with a week left and we're clinched, but we're not getting a bye. Hopefully we can get guys just a tiny bit of rest before wild card series, let the arms cool off a little bit, and you got to find the happy medium between rested but not rusty. So we've been spacing out the what seems like phantom ILs, and if it's not, it's very convenient, short minor injuries to our relievers that have kind of worked out well. Kind of a crowded bullpen when everyone's healthy, so it's worked out well. Wanted to hear who your untouchable pitcher of the week was.
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
Yeah. So, I'm gonna give it to. It's kind of tough because it would have been a pretty obvious candidate if Frankie would have stayed literally untouchable and kept
Mm.
his no, but got touched up a bit. Um, Still at 10 Ks, which is impressive, but I'm going to give it to Tobias Myers. 11 Ks, just giving up 1 run, 1 walk, 4 hits, and his last pitch, he was at 96 miles an hour, so he showed he still got some in the tank at the end of that outings. It was something we talked about, I think, just last week, that people were wondering if his velo was down, this and that, but if he still was reaching back and giving that, it was impressive. And also makes me wonder how we might utilize him in the playoffs if he's not one of our starters. If he comes in a relief role and he's pumping 96 or something, that'd be pretty fun. So I'm giving it to Tobias. Devin Williams with the close honorable mention because he did look factually untouchable. He faced 9 batters in his 3 innings pitched. He earned a save and he had 7 Ks. Faced the minimum in his 3 innings, so they were perfect.
Yeah, good shout out there. I forgot about Devin. I've kind of given him a little bit of a hard time with his inability to have clean innings so far since he's been back this year, and that was not the case. So good to see that. Hopefully he's feeling stretched out and good now, and we'll certainly need him in the playoffs. Did you say I wanted to? Okay, yeah, I didn't say this full stat line yet. I mentioned is in the game, but DL Hall, since returning on August 11th, he's got 15 and 2/3 innings, 1 earned run, 8 hits, 20 strikeouts to 6 walks. So big piece for us.
Yeah.
Who was your hot hitter of the week?
Stop dropping on fire, Ricky Bobby. I'm on fire. He's so hot right now.
Hot hitter of the week is going to go to drumroll. You're not even whatever. It's gonna go to Joey Ortiz. Honestly, we didn't have a lot of hot hitters based on our record. Since we last talked. Joey Ortiz, 16 at bats, 2 singles, a double, a homer, a run, 4 RBI, and a steal. Just beat out Bryce Terang, who had 18 at bats, 2 singles, 3 doubles, 2 runs, and a steal. So not the fun stat lines I've been getting to share the last couple of weeks, but I don't know. Good to see those younger guys getting it done because we're gonna need them when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, not too much to mention outside of what you just said there, but Statcast, what do you have?
Baseball isn't just numbers. It's not science.
You sure about that?
Not really a whole lot. I did pull just some less Statcasty numbers, more just data. And kind of ties right into what we just talked about, but just for context, in the month of September, the Brewers have a 169 team average and a team 587 OPS. It's not good, and it's not the time you want to be cold for the record. So hopefully we can, pick up where we left off, a week ago, keep hitting, because we all know in baseball, it seems like more than any other sport, it's just how hot your team is going into the playoffs, and it's not an ideal time to cool off. Luckily, in the month of September, the team whip is 1.07 and our ERA is 2.63. So the pitchers are still doing it, but the hitters have a little bit to desire.
All right. Upcoming schedule. The Brewers are heading back west to the Bay Area to go match up with the Giants, and then down to Arizona to match up with the Diamondbacks. A couple of pretty solid teams in the NL that they'll have to play better ball than they did against the lowly Rockies. And then they come back home, hopefully for a clinch that we'll see in person. Fingers crossed. Phillies and D-backs. So tough stretch coming up here, but like I said, it's baseball. It doesn't seem to really matter who's on the calendar. You just got to win in September. Transactions. Isaac Collins came up and made his debut, got a knock. He was a dog in Nashville this year. Plays all over the field, and swings a pretty good bat. So another guy who's kind of an under the radar prospect that we have that seems that he may be helping us out here. And who knows, maybe in the playoffs in a short series when you got less pitchers and more hitters on the roster, maybe he's a guy who's slotted into that bench spot on the playoff roster if he can heat up here for us.
Yeah, I heard Kurt Hogue mention that he was a high school football teammate with Brad Davison in Minnesota. I feel like we always heard about Brad Davison's quarterback lore,
Well, was
but
he
now
quarterback?
Brad Davison was,
I'm
I
just
believe.
kidding. Because if you watch Badger basketball, it was mentioned every single game that he
Yeah,
was quarterback.
over and over. Well, he was allegedly very good, but Isaac Collins, I believe, was his running back. So that's pretty cool. And then I guess while I'm talking about Isaac Collins, I just saw, I think it was like his sister-in-law or something, but posted a video
Yeah.
of Isaac Collins' brother watching the debut on TV, which just looked, I don't know, he was just a proud brother, kind of looked
Yeah.
nervous a little bit. He was standing, arms crossed, away from the TV a little bit. So it was a cool moment when those guys get a call up and get an opportunity to show what they can do. And Isaac Collins yesterday had a hit and a steal. He was actually the last Brewer batter to reach base, which isn't pretty if you're attending the game and watching the Rockies record, what was it, like 23 straight batters to end that game. But the guy that was the last one to reach base was Isaac Collins. So good for
Good
him.
good reaction too from his family in person. And it looked like, I'm assuming it's Freddie's dad behind him, gave a big fist pump behind Isaac Collins' dad when he stood up after the hit, because it was a guy in a looked like authentic Freddie Peralta jersey in the friends and family section. So I'm assuming it's Freddie's dad. Cool to see him getting excited. I think the Peraltas were in town,
Yeah, I was gonna
obviously,
say.
because I mean, I guess I don't know if they live in Milwaukee, because I've seen him in that section from time to time anyways, but Freddie's brother pitching for the Rockies. He made an appearance for the Rockies. Pretty cool. Freddie's little brother Luis. Yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything from the transactions and news section of the podcast? I feel like there wasn't really too much going on.
I think there wasn't a transaction, but there might be soon. I just wanted to talk about Hobie Milner's last couple appearances. You kind of mentioned earlier, Ashby and Hall look pretty good from the left side, and Hobie has not. He was called upon in, was it Wednesday's game that we lost in extras? He surrendered the, I guess, game losing hit after recording a strikeout, but he was called upon there, didn't get the job quite done. And then yesterday as well, only pitched a third of an inning, and once again did not look so good, giving up a home run. And prior to that outing, and obviously prior to coming back with the club from that injury or phantom injury, I guess. I don't know what his injury status truly was, but his two outings prior to that, he also did not look good in the start of August. So I'm a little concerned Hobie's time might be running out, and he's been really good for the Brewers in his shortish tenure here, but I just don't see how we're going to be able to keep a guy on the playoff roster if he keeps getting hit like he has. You can't really have a relief pitcher.
And you got three lefties that you probably trust more than him right now, which I can't believe Aaron Ashby's one of them. But right now, on September 9th, you're probably looking at Koenig, Hall, and Ashby all before you are Milner. So
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he'll still get a bit of a shot, but not ideal to have your kind of high leverage lefty come in and get shelled like that.
yeah. Around the farm,
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
Brewers' first round pick this year, Braylon Payne, has made his debut in low A with the Carolina Mudcats. His first 4 low A games. He's had batted balls of 110, 104, and 103. He's got a 526 on base percentage and a 625 slug, 4 stolen bases, an infield double. Could have possibly been ruled in error, but kid's got wheels. We'll see what comes of it in the future, but Brewers went down the board a little bit, it sounded like, to save some slot money. But it looks like early results are good, and he's probably not a guy that we'll expect to see for a couple or few years at least, but good stuff to start. Small sample size. But and then Ernesto Martinez won his second consecutive Southern League Player of the Week. He's got a 12.25 OPS in his last 16 games.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout him out because we talked about him last week a little bit, but he's a guy that he's 25 years old, but we brought him back for another year because we liked, I guess, how he'd been developing. And just for context, he's 6'6" and 250 pounds. He hits the split sometimes, And he also has 49 innings in center field this year. So I think he has 18 bags as well. So he's he's an athlete. He's a big dude. And this year in Double-A, he's put together a 280 batting average, 363 on base, and a 463 slug for an 825 OPS. But his WRC plus is 145 in the Southern League. So he's kind of put some impressive numbers together. So I don't know if we'll get a run necessarily with the crew, just because we seem to have been loading up on corner, first base, third base, corner infielders lately. But I don't know. He's a fun guy that I'd like to see get a shot in the league at some point. He hits a lot of ground balls, which I think kind of hurts him for a dude that can really put a charge into a ball. But he's got some wheels. And he's lowered his strikeout rate a little bit more this year, even than he did last year. It's only 17.3%, which is pretty good, especially relative to where kind of he started. So just a guy that I kind of like to follow. He's really fun to watch play.
All right, beer of the week.
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
Got to give a shout out to my co-host and good friend Cole for bringing over a 6-pack of this beer. New Belgium Voodoo Ranger Tropic Force Tropical IPA. Tropic Force delivers hard-hitting pineapple and mango flavors at a full throttle of 9.5 ABV. It was very good.
I saw the 9.5 ABV in full effect on Saturday night.
Yeah, that was good fire. It was good fire. Shout out to Voodoo Ranger. Thanks for going out there and checking out the brewery for me before you picked out a beer to bring over.
Yeah, I had to check it out in person before I really handed it off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, New Belgium is a pretty cool brewery and they got some good stuff there. So check it out.
All right, random game in Brewers history.
Random.
I took your request and I did random. So I sat here and I picked a date in the Brewers history and I just made up a date. I said, hope they had a game. I said June 12th, 1994.
And this is perfect because it's even an off day. So you can't tie it into who we're playing because we're playing nobody. So this makes sense. Fully random.
So tell me why when I searched June 12th, 1994 first and forgot to say Brewers, I searched that. The first thing that came up is that's the day that O.J. Simpson's wife and a waiter were tragically murdered by we don't know who. But that was the date in history that I randomly picked. I thought that was kind of strange.
Doesn't that tie into one of the most famous Brewers fans?
Cato.
Yeah.
You use the term fan loosely.
Yeah, true.
I just thought that was super funny that
is random.
picked a random date in the last 50, 60 years, and that's the date. But the Cleveland Indians were in town. It was a 2:07 first pitch at County Stadium, attendance of 21,786. Dennis Martinez versus Teddy Higuera. And I always forget that Teddy was still on the team because this was the first year of the green and blue unis. Teddy was still on the team, and you never imagine him in those uniforms.
Yeah,
he was kind of past his prime. I think he had some arm injuries at that point, but it was 9-4 Indians after 2 innings. They had an 8 run top of the second. Brewers made it 8-6, but gave up 3 in the 9th. They lost 12-6. The Cleveland lineup included Kenny Lofton, Carlos Baerga, Albert Bell, Eddie Murray, and Manny Ramirez. Dang. That's obviously the prime of that Cleveland team. And then the Brewers lineup was Jody Reed, Bill Spires, Greg Vaughn, BJ Surhoff, Brian Harper, Dave Nelson, Matt Maisky, Alex Diaz, and Jose Valentin. It's about as random as it gets. There you go.
It is random. Also, when you said that Indians, because that is what they were, reminds me of the film Major League, which reminds me of Bob Uecker's famous line in the film Major League, which is just a bit outside, which is releasing this week, I believe. So get out and relive the championship. I can call it that. It was a championship. Yeah. That is a fact.
Yeah, the filmmakers that were on the podcast a couple weeks ago were generous enough to offer us a sneak preview. So I know you weren't able to make it, but I was able to see the film already, and it was very good. And like I told you in person, even though I wasn't alive, it was still kind of gut wrenching to see them lose game 6 and 7 of the World Series. So But you definitely still want to check it out. And a lot of really good screen time from the kid Robin Yount, and he really opens up. So not to spoil anything, but if you're a Brewers fan, you'll hear a lot that you'll like, a lot of inside stories and some good funny stories as well. So yeah.
I was gonna say too, sorry, tie back into the random game. I'm surprised he didn't say Jim Tomei in the lineup, but he's another guy that was around at
Yeah.
that time. He must have just had a rest day or been hurt or something. I
Yeah.
think that was kind of his earlier years in Cleveland, but he's another dude. They were stacked. Still are,
Yeah.
right? They're getting it
They
done
really
this
were.
year.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like in the national media, every time the Brewers are mentioned, they instantly mention Cleveland this year because, I mean, similar styles of player development and lower budgets, but I don't know. I don't feel like we're ran exactly the same way, but uh, just two clubs that they're like literally always discussed together. It seems like just kind of annoying to me, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then all right, final thoughts. First, we just found out about an hour and a half ago that the legendary James Earl Jones passed away. Obviously, he has that legendary role and scene in Field of Dreams. So went back and watched that right away. Super nostalgic. Obviously, the voice of Darth Vader as well. I'm a big Star Wars fan. So rest in peace to James Earl Jones. 91, I believe they said. So lived a long, full life, and um, one of the legendary scenes in baseball movie history. So,
yep.
and then
And he was in Sandlot as well.
was he?
Yeah, I think he
Oh
owns
yeah,
the
yeah, with
dog.
the dog. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
dog owner. That's right. That's right.
And the
Yeah.
Lion King. He was in a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Coming to America, funny film. I'll stop going through his
Wow.
IMDb page, but he was in some good stuff.
Yeah, and then two other things that I had. The Bills and Cardinals in football had the first play with the 12th man legally being on the field. Thought that was super interesting. Just made me think. So with the new kickoff rules and the ball rolling off the tee with the wind, they let a 12th player come out there and hold the ball. And I was just thought that was so like crazy for sports. Like what that would never happen in basketball or baseball to just have 10 on the field or 6 on the court. I just thought that was really like a historic, interesting sports little tidbit that we might see in trivia someday. I did see the rules apparently for the new kickoff said that the ref could allow like a tee or one of the holding tee, like not a tee, but one of the holding things on the tee, and then the ref would go pick it up. But apparently they opted for a 12th player. So I thought that was really funny.
I was kind of surprised the ref didn't just hold it, but
Yeah.
can't do that, I guess.
Yeah, true. And then the one thing I wanted to bring up was on Twitter, Kyle Ginsbach. It looks like he's a contributor for the Brewer Fanatic. Don't want to come at the guy too much because he's a Brewers fan as well, but did see he had a tweet when Jordan Love went down this last week. And it was a picture of Giannis hurt, Love hurt, and then Yelich out, obviously, for the year. Someone said, "Who has it worse than us?" And he quoted it and said, "There is no us or we in sports fandom. You're not on the team, and if injuries and team success affects your mental health, take a break from sports. Nobody should care so much about who has it harder as a sports fan. That's the saddest shit ever." I gotta say, so first of all, I do understand, like, if you're being negative towards pro athletes, I kind of understand this type of stance, like the whole like, oh, you can say whatever you want at the players because you paid your money to get in, blah blah blah. I think that's a little bit of an older take. I do hate that. Just because you bought a ticket doesn't mean you can be a jackass at the game. But on the flip side of that, there are no pro sports without fans. So if you're the ones that are actually the blood of pro sports, if you're spending money, that's how pro sports happen. So to be disappointed about your 3 local sports teams losing their best player on each of the 3 teams, I firmly disagree by saying that there's no us or we in that case. Yes, you're not part of the team, but there's no Milwaukee Brewers if we don't fill the stadium. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I didn't like that at all. And I would assume you have a similar opinion to me on that.
Yeah, if you consider the fact that the teams wear the city on their chest, right? Like they literally are representing the area and location. Obviously, you can be a fan if you're not from the city of Milwaukee, whatever. But normally, you have some connection to the area, and that's probably why at some point someone in your family was a fan or you're a fan. So, it definitely isn't us, right? And I mean, just a bit outside. In that movie, I'm sure you can see the effect on the community as a whole and what it meant to the people of the city at the time. And even now, um, whatever, we always get the smallest market in baseball, spiel, all that, but we are always top half of the league in attendance. And we continue to support the club. So, and I say we because us fans are part of the community. Even the teams themselves advertise Brewers community, right? Stuff like that. It's not like they're saying they're above the fans or whatever. So yeah, no, yes, there's a line. Like there is a line where my grandpa is not on the team, right? So like chill a little bit, but at the same time,
But to
yeah,
be bummed about a star player going down,
yeah,
certainly.
because you care. Yeah.
Yep. Certainly.
We had to bring that up because Coach Kean wanted us to, and if he was here, we'd probably have to use the expletive
Yeah.
button a couple times because
Yeah.
Coach Kean gets fired up. So we held him back. Told him sit this one out. No, I'm just kidding. He's
Yeah.
busy, but
Yeah. But that's what I had. There was one other thing that you had sent it in the group chat, so I'll see if you hit on it. Otherwise, I'll touch on it. But go ahead. What do you got for final thoughts?
I wanted to say that today I got a notification from the always reliable Bleacher Report that only has the utmost just best degree of reporting. But they said that Noah Syndergaard, I saw that he also said it, I think somewhere other than just Bleacher Report, but Noah Syndergaard said he'd love to return to New York. You have to consider Noah Syndergaard last pitched in 2023 and had a 6.5 ERA with a 5.68 K per nine. I would imagine he would love to pitch in New York, but I think he would also love to literally get the chance to pitch anywhere. I just thought it was an absurd headline. Like, of course, he would love to come back to the team that he was good with, gave him a chance, and now they're doing pretty well. Like, it's fine, but it's just really funny. It'd be one thing if it was like someone who still was kind of decent and good. No offense, Noah Syndergaard, and I hope you get your shot, but it was just funny.
Well, this is a man who also, I think, at one point said he doesn't have kids, but he would trade his firstborn to be back to his prime self. And I thought that was a little outrageous. So I guess maybe he's got a misconstrued perception of some things, but I do like Noah Syndergaard, the pitcher.
Yeah. I just had a couple like quick high level questions. And it's what specifically, like, obviously, like we talked about already, we don't officially have the playoff spot locked up, but if we don't make the playoffs at this point, I'd be I might not be a baseball fan anymore. But like, what are you still looking for the most from now to the end of the year? Is there anything like specifically you're looking for from the team? I was going through my head because we talked about figuring out the bullpen, the rotation. I think you'd still probably want to see Freddie look like himself for a couple of starts before the year's over. But for me personally, I just want to see the big guys continue to have their swagger at the plate. I think the Wilson, Willie, and Jackson at this point. I want those three guys to show that they like have it and they're rolling into the playoffs, because I think the small ball and the depth we have at the other spots will get us by, but we're going to need some bats combined with our pitching that's been here all year. So I want to see those guys keep rolling. I don't want to go cold into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, honestly, no, there's nothing specific that I'm looking for to happen because this team has been such a surprise, honestly, in a good way. And they're putting together wins for a team that wasn't supposed to win games, really. And I think those guys have done that. So I guess I can't say anything for September. Now, if you ask me what I would be expecting going into a playoff series, that would be my answer exactly about Willie and William and Jackson, and to step, especially the veteran guys, not so much Jackson, but love to see him do well. But yeah, I think just trying to maintain. I mean, like I said, this team hasn't lost 4 games in a row all year, so it's been a pretty steady successful team. They're not going to win 100 games, but they're probably going to win 90, and they just don't hit these cold stretches. And I guess you just got to make sure in September, even if you take the foot off the gas a little, if maybe the bye is out of reach and the division's clinched, keep the foot on the gas enough that we're rolling into October feeling good with those big bats playing well. And I guess just timing up pitching enough where, like I said, they're not rusty, but they're rested enough so no one's overworked going in the playoffs. That's really all I want to see.
Yeah. I think the other option was probably just kind of figuring out the pen a little bit. It's a good problem to have so many arms that are kind of leverage guys, but I guess usually anyways, you're really used to having like knowing exactly who your guy is in 7, 8, 9 if it's a tight game, and we have so many guys that I don't even know who that is right now. So hopefully guys just keep rolling and make it a tough decision, I guess. And that means everyone's doing well.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have another question? Otherwise, I'll hit on the one tweet that I was going to say.
No, you can go.
I was going to say you sent that tweet about the Milwaukee Grays vintage baseball team that plays with 1860s rules. For some reason, I saw an Illinois one pop up recently too. Kind of cool that guys get together in the old time uniforms, no gloves. They play with the old rules. One bounce, catches are an out. No called strikes, anything like that. So kind of cool little thing. Keep playing ball even when you're older. You don't need to be throwing 90 miles an hour and don't even need a glove. So
Yeah. It the picture of the old time wool uniforms reminded me of the picture of Jared Carabas I saw the other day, where he kind of drowns in the big uniform.
Yeah.
I remember he was talking about it then, and he was all
he said they
a little
gave him a
self-conscious.
2X. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got. So hopefully when we talk next week, and maybe if we're at some of the games, we might get pushed a little later in the week. Maybe we're division champs by then. So good stuff. Good year. It's been a fun year, and it's hopefully the fun's just getting started.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, go Brewers.
Go Brewers.